everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're tuning in today because we're diving into a beautiful, timeless fable that, honestly, is going to completely shift how we view our own perceived inadequacies. If you have ever felt like you're falling short, or maybe carrying a flaw that's holding you back, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to explore this old story that reveals a completely different, frankly, amazing way to look at our imperfections. So let's just dive right into this powerful narrative. Before we even get to the story, our source material sets the stage with this really poetic thought. It points out that when we look at the moon, we see the beauty of the divine. When we look at the sun, we see its brilliance. But as this quote beautifully captures, when we look in the mirror, we are looking at the Creator's most beloved creation, ourselves. It's a heavy thought, right? I want you to just keep this inspiring idea about your own inherent worth in the back of your mind as we go, because it's absolutely the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. All right, Section 1, the daily journey, a farmer's routine. To really understand this, you have to picture the incredibly demanding life of a hardworking farmer. Every single morning, this guy would walk down a long, dusty dirt path to the local pond. He'd fill his two massive clay pots with water, carefully suspend them on a solid wooden stick balanced right across his shoulders, and make the long trek back home. Just grueling, repetitive work, day in and day out. But there was a bit of a catch to this routine. And this number perfectly illustrates the core problem of our story. The result of his trek? 1.5. You see, despite the immense, literally back-breaking physical effort of carrying two entirely full, heavy pots of water all the way from that pond, the farmer only ever arrived home with 1.5 pots of water. Half a pot was always, without fail, lost on that dirt path. Which brings us to Section 2, burden of the flaw. Two very different pots. Okay, let's dive into this. So, why in the world was only 1.5 pots making it back to the house after all that work? Well, the reason becomes crystal clear when you look at them. The two pots hanging on the farmer's shoulders were very, very different. On one side, you have the perfect pot. It held exactly 100% of its capacity, never spilling a single drop. But because of this, it was pretty arrogant and incredibly proud of its flawless utility. Now, on the other side, we have the cracked pot. It was older, damaged, and constantly leaking water throughout the entire journey. Because of his flaw, the cracked pot was just deeply, deeply sad. It felt completely useless, basically viewing itself as nothing more than a giant burden to this hardworking farmer. And to make matters worse, the perfect pot wasn't exactly supportive. It would constantly boast, saying things like, "Look at me, I do the farmer's complete work. I don't let his hard work go to waste." And then it would actually taunt the cracked pot, saying, when the farmer finds out the truth, he will throw you away and get a new pot. I mean, just imagine hearing that every single day. These taunts amplified the cracked pot's deep shame. It just watched half the farmer's water spill out onto the dirt every day, totally convinced it was entirely worthless. Moving on to Section 3, the confession, the breaking point. You can only take so much of that daily physical and emotional toll before you snap. And eventually, the cracked pot reached its breaking point. One day, it finally spoke up and made this heartbreaking confession to the farmer. It said, "Master, you work so hard every day, but because of me, half your water is wasted on the path." And then it delivered this final, crushing plea. "Now is the time to leave me. Get a new pot. I am of no use anymore." It fully accepted its perceived uselessness, assuming the farmer would be angry, or at the very least, disappointed. But here is the crazy part. The farmer didn't get angry. He didn't agree to throw the pot away. Instead, he just smiled. So why did the farmer smile? Well, instead of validating the pot's shame, he gently told the cracked pot, "Don't be sad. Tomorrow morning, when we return from the pond, I just want you to look really closely at the path." Let's find out what happens in Section 4, the farmer's secret, a different perspective. The very next morning, doing exactly as it was told, the cracked pot shifted its focus outward, and what it saw was just astonishing. The path wasn't just bare, dusty dirt anymore. Beautiful, vibrant, super colorful flowers were blooming all along the way. But here's the truly amazing part, the kicker. They were only blooming on the cracked pot's side of the path. Seeing these gorgeous flowers brought this sudden massive wave of joy to the cracked pot. But by the time they reached the house, that familiar sadness washed over it again. Why? Because it realized that despite the pretty flowers, it had still leaked half its water. Its flaw was still there. And that, my friends, is when the farmer revealed his brilliant secret. He told the pot, "I knew you were cracked, so I planted seeds on your side of the path." The farmer explained that he had known about the flaw the entire time, literally the whole time. He had deliberately gone to the market, bought flower seeds, and intentionally scattered them specifically along the side of the path where the cracked pot hung. So think about this for a second, because this is the absolutely crucial point. What the pot saw as a fatal flaw, leaking water every single day, the farmer saw as a unique purpose. Every single day, as water dripped from that crack, the pot was perfectly watering those seeds. The farmer used the exact weakness of the pot to naturally cultivate something extraordinary. That path was beautifully decorated with flowers because of and entirely thanks to the crack in the pot. It's like a giant puzzle where the missing piece was actually the most important one. Which brings us to our final section, your flaws are strengths, the universal truth. Because, listen, this isn't just some old fable about clay pots. It's a direct reflection of our own lives. The farmer told the pot, "I knew your weakness, but I made that weakness a strength." The perfect pot might have carried 100% of the water, sure, but it could never, ever have created that beautiful garden. It took the unique imperfection of the cracked pot to bring that specific beauty into the world. Let's be real here. No one in this world is perfect. It's an illusion. We all carry our own unique flaws, our own cracks in the clay, so to speak. But the absolute magic of this story is that those very weaknesses can be transformed into hidden strengths. If we recognize them and actually work with them rather than hiding them away in shame, they become our unique advantage. And finally, the ultimate takeaway here. Accept yourself exactly as you are, flaws and all, and keep moving forward. You might just find that your perceived inadequacy makes you far more valuable than a perfect counterpart ever could be. So I want to leave you with this one final provocative question. What seeds are your flaws secretly watering? Seriously, think about it. The next time you look in the mirror and start to hyper-focus on your imperfections, I want you to remember the cracked pot. Remember that you are inherently beautiful, and your unique cracks might be exactly what is needed to bring something truly wonderful into this world. Thank you so, so much for joining me today. Keep growing, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.